Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy, fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
I assume com.
On July 16th, the movie Die in a Gunfight comes out. And as I've referred to it, hopefully he doesn't get mad at me for saying this. This is a rom-com for dudes. Collin Schiffli, the director, how are you today?
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me. And thank you for saying that, because that's actually a really cool description that I've not heard yet. So I love it.
It's a fun movie. There's gunfights, there's drugs, there's the Romeo and Juliet aspect of the two super rich families trying to keep everybody apart. And I'm not giving away more than the trailer itself. And on top of it, you got Lana Lang from Superman and Lois in the film.
Yeah, I'm glad you're noticing all this stuff, because everything you're saying down to a T, you're hitting the nail on the head. It's a playful, fun movie, self-aware. It has heart. It has a little of everything, kind of what you want out of a movie, out of a cliche Saturday night flick, summer movie. That was the intention going into it, and I'm glad you got that out of it.
The movie, it's a fun movie. Like, you sit there and like, okay, so you get some of the rom-com aspect, you get some of the Romeo and Juliet aspect, great narration in the film. The animation works perfectly in the flow of the story to tell the backstory. When you were presented with the script and they said, all right, this is what the initial script is, did it have the animation written in there in the screenplay, or was that something that you brought along with it?
It actually did not. It had backstory, and it was rich with this. It was a love letter to cinema. That's what made me fall in love with it. And I breezed through it. I'm like the worst script reader, and I breezed through it. And it had all these tongue-in-cheek nods with the narration. It was almost just saying, like, look at this. All the movies we loved growing up, we're putting it all into one. And that's the point. And so as we were filming, of course, it is an indie movie. We had our budget limitations, just like any movie, and you come up with creative solutions. And a lot of those solutions were leaning into the film language, the filmic language that you can use, whether it be nods to like a French New Wave, playing with the editing and the pacing and the ramping and the titles. And but what's funny is the animation was never a part of it, and was never a part of the conversation even until post-production. We were in the thick of it, and COVID was going down. So all these little backstory beats that we weren't able to film with principal photography, we were like, what are we going to do? How do we do this? And it was actually Andrew, our writer, who was like, you know what? You've gone so far with the playful kind of stylization. What are we missing? We're missing animation. That's the one thing that we can almost use to our advantage here, and it won't feel out of place. If anything, it'll bring it all together. It's like the icing on the cake. And once we realized that the animators were hungry for work and could do it from their homes, and we could Skype and Zoom with each other and get the tone right, they jumped at the chance, and we all were like, this is it. This is what we need to start this movie off, because it walks such a fine line of, the tone is so strange and can be so strange that it's almost like, how do we set it up? And to me, the narration combined with the kind of colorful graphic design look, or graphic artwork look, kind of set the mood, and it kind of was what we needed.
Right. And then with the Bullet Edition Mustang 305 Boss in there, I'm sitting there and thinking, I was like, this is kind of how Bruce Wayne would have ended up if his parents had lived.
That is amazing. I've never even thought about that. That's a beautiful comparison, because it is. It's like a guy with a bunch of money, and what does he do with his life? And he's kind of looking for that self-inflicted, trying to feel something. Totally brooding and dark. And yeah, Ben could totally be Batman in a different alternate universe. Yeah.
And Diego's English is better than mine, and I know he was born in Mexico, so I'm the son of immigrants myself, so I picked up their accent somehow at some point. And so it's hilarious. So I'm like, wow, this guy's English is way better than mine on top of it. No, this is a great film. When you sat there and you make this homage to cinema, going back, let's say 50 years into the 70s, where it wasn't like, not necessarily grindhouse, but it was definitely that grittier, naturalistic feel to films. How important was that in telling the story? Because this could have gone real shiny or real dark.
Yeah.
And even in the neon light aspect in one scene, it still had that grit to it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, my background, my first two films are super heavy, gritty movies, which I harken back to. Like, I wanted to make my Mean Streets and my, you know, my Taxi Driver and all those types of gritty where you're just watching the characters walk through the streets of New York and you're feeling and smelling and seeing the atmospheric things. And it's grounded. And that's why it's so funny making this, because it seems like such a departure, but really it isn't, because it's tying everything together in a different way. And yeah, it's very stylized, but it's the style of cinema. And, you know, it was in the script. If anything, it was more 60s, 70s vibe in the script. And as we started making it, it's kind of like, you know what, we've seen so much of this. I was born in 1986. So like, we've seen this, you know, kind of a resurgence, obviously, of 80s stuff, but it's like now we're even seeing 90s stuff, 90s styles. And to me, it's that early Tony Hawk, Beastie Boys, Nirvana world that I saw as a kid, and you know, 90s movies, and that it's like, you know what, it has the 70s and elements and the same type of approach, but let's put a little more of what we know, our nostalgic world, instead of just mimicking what like a Tarantino or someone would do. We're mimicking our version of that, which is, you know, I quite literally say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles even is peppered into this movie. But it's making those references to the idealized kind of out of reach world that cinema at least used to be. It used to seem like it was up on the silver screen, and now it's all kind of different because we all, you know, the way content is today, it's a totally different world. But I wanted to make sure it was very important that we are speaking to the new youthful generation, that this is for the 13 to 15 to 16 to 21-year-olds, but also for everyone who appreciates it. But those kids who are up fresh off the slick looking Marvel movies, trying to look for something a little edgier, but still, you know, have a foot in both worlds. That could maybe be the opening the door to a movie like Boogie Nights, or to a movie like Taxi Driver, or to a movie like, you know, Butch Cassidy, whatever. It was very important that all those were peppered into this film.
I love it. Unfortunately, I know we're running out of time, so I will feel guilty if I don't mention how great of a villain Justin Chatwin was, because he's the unexpected one. But let's say, you know, we're finally opening up, you know, half the US, a little more than half the US is open. People can finally go out to the theater. You're with your girl. She wants to see something a little more romantic and sensitive. But, you know how we guys are sometimes. We want that shoot 'em up film. How do we convince our girl to go to the theater and see Die in a Gunfight on July 16th?
I think you got to say that at its core, this movie is about passion and love, and you will walk away feeling, you know, it's romantic, it's hip. You're going to feel that jolt of adrenaline that you first had when you met that person, whether it's your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, whatever you felt at the beginning, this is going to make you feel that again throughout. And you're going to leave with those, you know, because Diego and Alex on screen are like, you know, electric. So it's only going to you're going to be recharged as you leave the theater, or even if you watch it on Apple or wherever you watch it, you want to do it for that reason.
I love it, man. If you want to stay home in your pajamas, it's on demand the same day it's on theaters. Those of you joining to get out of the house, hit up the theater itself on July 16th, Die in a Gunfight. Director Collin Schiff, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. Where can we find you in the film on social media before I let you go?
I'm on Instagram, Schiffli Films. If you look up Schiffli Films anywhere, that's kind of where I'm at, and my brother helps me with all that stuff. So yeah, you can find us out there. Just Google my name and follow us, and if you want to learn more, see more.